The latest Minecraft update has the potential to fix some of Minecraft's oldest issues. Since 2011, Mojang has been trying to implement more and more forms of extrinsic progression with varying degrees of success. To be fair, the issues I'm going to touch on today don't really pop up in game unless you're playing on a vanilla survival server, but I think they're worth discussing because of how much they take away from the server experience. Tell me if this scenario sounds familiar to you. You join a survival server, you're excited to get going on the new server, but you begin to notice that almost all of the cool structures and neat locations have been explored and looted. Your sense of wonder about the world is instantly stripped away, unless you get your wonder from seeing other people's builds or building your own. But for those of you who enjoy exploring, it's really hard to find something you like. Everything you come across has been pillaged by some greedy player who likely looted everything they could find within the first 24 hours of the world opening. I would say that almost 90% of the fun of exploring Minecraft worlds comes from finding structures, whether it be player-made or just generated in the game. Structures break up the flow of the land. When I'm exploring, I see a pillager tower peeking over the horizon, and it excites me because even though it's the same as every other tower with slight variations, it's something that I can explore and get a little bit of loot from. The same applies to nether portals, desert temples, jungle temples, mine shafts, ocean monuments. Okay, well, maybe not ocean monuments, those kind of suck, but almost every structure gives me that cool feeling of discovery when I find it. However, if you've ever joined a survival multiplayer server several months after it started, you'll know all too well that exploring has been likely done already. Finding any cool structure is, well, good luck finding one. Even in the end, in the nether, finding cool stuff that hasn't already been looted or ran through is rare, if not impossible. But this issue extends beyond being robbed of the joy of exploration. Some items are downright impossible to get without having to first trade with other players, typically for an insane price. Elytras and upgrade templates pose massive problems with the extrinsic progression that Minecraft currently has. In multiplayer, getting your hands on either of these items can be incredibly difficult, especially if it's a competitive server with lackluster rules or enabled PvP. If you are not already rich, getting rich will be nearly impossible. Minecraft's economic mobility is kinda shit. Hey, just like the US. Let's start with Elytra. Elytra can only be found on end city ships, but not all end cities have ships. End cities are few and far between, so if an SMP has a very limited world size, say 10,000 by 10,000 or even smaller, there is a very finite amount of Elytra that players can get their hands on. Some people will die with them, some may just drop them into the void, others may just burn them in a fire for fun. The point is, there are many ways one could lose an Elytra, which is obviously a big problem when there are so few to begin with. Many new players are often forced to shell out tons of expensive materials like ancient debris or diamonds just to pay for an Elytra because more veteran players have likely taken them all and they're just looking to sell a couple. Monopolies are never a good thing. A very similar issue can occur in the nether with upgrade templates. Prior to 1.20, netherite was simple to obtain. Players mine ancient debris, cook it, and combine it with gold to make a netherite ingot, which is then used to upgrade diamond to netherite. But Mojang saw this as a little too easy. Netherite is extremely overpowered, and it makes sense that obtaining it should take a little more skill. Mojang, in their adherence to their trend of creating more exploration-focused and extrinsic challenges for the players, decided to rethink how netherite is obtained. In the nether exist dangerous fortresses called bastions. These are home to some pretty tough enemies and really good loot. As of 1.20, in addition to the ancient debris and gold, players also need to get a new item called the upgrade template. The issue is that upgrade templates are only found in bastions. You see the issue here? It's the same as the Elytra. In multiplayer, if the rich players get their hands on these items, they can sell them at extremely high prices because they know other players need these items to progress. Netherite is by far the best gear in the game. Locking that away behind a structure that does not regenerate is a horrible idea that has led to greed and unfairness across many servers. Many have offered up a solution to this particular issue. YouTuber Odyssey Central has made a video on this issue and proposed pigling bartering as a potential solution to the issue. While I do think this was a good solution at the time, 1.21 gives us a much better solution to the issue that I sadly don't think Mojang will use. Vaults and trial spawners are the best things to happen to Minecraft since 1.16 with the Nether update. And I'm not afraid to say that. You can fight me in the comments, debate me, come at me bro, come at me bro, come at me little guy down in the comments, come at me, come on. In case you live under a rock, Trial spawners are blocks that spawn a set amount of mobs based on the number of players present. Once a player has defeated all of them, a small reward pops at the top of the spawner for players to collect. This can be anything from a couple of emeralds to food or even potions. The best part of these is that they are replayable. Players can return to them at any time, after a little cooldown of course, to fight the mobs again and again and get another reward. Alongside simpler rewards, the trial spawners can also drop trial keys. These keys can be used to unlock the new vault block, a sort of replacement for chests. Vaults are loaded with a loot table of goodies. When a player right-clicks a vault with the trial key, the key disappears and the vault is unlocked and throws some items out. Unlike trial spawners, this can only be done once. However, they differ from chests in that they can only be opened once per player. Imagine a structure where chests can only be opened by each player once, and each time a player opens it, new items are generated, but if the same player opens the same chest twice, it is empty the second time. Do you see where my logic here is going? Trial spawners drop keys, vaults need keys, vaults are reusable loot chests. Imagine if the chests in almost every major structure in Minecraft were replaced by vaults and vault key variants. Imagine for a moment if woodland mansions had illager trial spawners, which had a chance to drop a woodland mansion key. That key would then be used to unlock any vault in the mansion, or say in another mansion thousands of blocks away. Imagine a desert temple where in the center lies a trial spawner loaded with husks. That trial spawner has a chance to drop the desert temple key, which can then be used on vaults hidden in the temple. Perhaps one could be in that side tower that's always on a desert temple, or maybe hidden in the new room that was added in 1.20. The best thing about vaults is that they're not bound to one singular loot table from my understanding. You can edit their MBT data and tie any vault to any loot table. Whether it be the bonus chests, mineshaft chests, even ruined portal chests, it can be literally anything. So the solution here is simple. Assign the vaults in these structures to the loot tables of their given structures. This solves the upgrade template problem perfectly. Imagine you're on a server and you find a bastion that's already been looted. Instead of fretting because all the goodies are gone, you fight piglings and pigling brutes to loot trial spawners and then get bastion keys to unlock the vaults within. This means that any player at any time can go into a bastion and get upgrade templates from vaults or even trial spawners. Gone are the days of praying you find an unlooted bastion or having to haggle an upgrade template off some greedy player. Gone are the days of monopolies and greed, of trekking thousands of blocks just to hit the border and give up. This is the way forward. This could be applied to almost every structure. End city ships as well. Have a trial spawner of endermen, endermites, shulkers, or some other new mob. That trial spawner could then have a chance to drop an elytra or an end city key that could be used on vaults within the ship to get an elytra. Armor trims, while cool, are far too expensive to duplicate. If you don't like mining, first of all, why are you playing a game called Minecraft? Are you okay? Second of all, you could return to this structure at any given time and have trial spawners that have a low chance of dropping armor trims. This means options for players who don't care for mining but like a little combat challenge here and there to get their hands on armor trims without having to worry about greedy players who are looking to make a quick buck simply because they joined the server a couple months earlier. You might argue that this makes obtaining armor trims or upgrade templates too easy. First of all, no it doesn't. There is an inherent risk with going into a bastion and fighting piglings from trial spawners, especially brutes. But let's say I grant you that critique. Let's say it is a little too easy to get armor trims. Through editing NBT data, trial spawners can spawn literally any mob you can imagine. We saw this in early 1.21 snapshots with skeletons using poison arrows in their offhand. There's so much more to this. Endless implications for dungeon mechanics. You can give mobs specific gear with specific trims, give them extra health, faster speed, enchant their weapons, change what weapons they hold, how many spawn, what the loot tables are. Yes, plural, trial spawners can have multiple loot tables. Before I closed my server, I used this in my dungeons to great effect. Imagine you walk into a desert temple and it isn't just some normal husk that you're fighting. It's a special husk with custom armor that's trimmed and has specific stats. It could be a pretty tough mob to fight, but maybe that's a little too hard. Maybe you prefer things stay the way they are now. Not everyone enjoys combat, especially difficult combat at that. Correct. I agree. Which is why more options and difficulty options should be added alongside this. Let's say you make a new world that is in the easy difficulty. Structures will not spawn with trial spawners or vaults, but normal chests instead. If you ever decide that you do want trial spawners in your world, you can simply turn up the difficulty to normal or hard so that when the game generates new chunks with structures in them, the game will check for what difficulty you are in and generate the blocks accordingly. Does this mean people could cheat? Yeah, sure, but commands also exist. You can cheat at literally anything in the game. I'll say it again. Having more options is never a bad thing. The ability to customize how structures spawn in your world is important. Locking away unique vaults and trial spawners behind something as simple as difficulty toggle makes a ton of sense. It can be changed at any time or blocked in the pause menu. The ability to adjust the difficulty of the game would be really nice, while still allowing players who like things the old way to keep it that way. Change is good too. Controversial take, I know. Now here's one thing you might be thinking. What about ancient cities? The only mob that spawns there is the Warden. How would you obtain vault keys for Ancient City if there aren't any trial spawners? That is a good question. One that I admit I do not have a perfect answer for. Ancient cities are a bit tricky. My first solution is that they just wouldn't get vaults. That means we've solved nothing when it comes to multiplayer servers, and it means that many players would probably miss out on the exclusive Swift Sneak enchantment. That simply will not do. My second solution, the real one, is that players must obtain 4 different trial keys from different structures in the world and combine them in a crafting table along some other item, say like a diamond or a sculk sensor, to create the ancient key, which could then be duplicated similarly to armor trims. This works for a couple reasons. One, Mojang really wants to incentivize exploration as of late, and I feel this is a great way to push people to do so. Imagine exploring your world to get your hands on the Jungle Temple Key, the Desert Temple Key, the Pillager Key, and the Ocean Monument Key in order to combine them to make the Ancient Key. I think this would be really fun. The downside to this solution is that it could just take way too damn long. I suspect that most people would not want to go through the pain of finding an ancient city, traveling to all these different areas, which could be potentially thousands of blocks apart, just to come back and get some loot that they likely already have, but hey, that's yet another problem with Mojang's progression. It would just be tedious to travel so far, especially if you don't have an elytra or maps. The third solution I thought of was to mix chests and vaults. For example, some chests may have vault keys in them that can be duplicated similar to armor trims. Combine this with an ancient key that the Warden could drop, and I think you'd have a pretty good simple solution to the issue. It's not as cool as combining keys to craft a cooler key, but it is a solution. Overall, I think Mojang has a great opportunity to fix many long-standing issues with structures in 1.21, and I don't think they'll do it. I'd be shocked if Mojang actually took the time to implement this solution in all their structures. It would be a momentous task, and I don't think they have the time to do it before 1.21's release in a few months. But in the future, I don't see why they couldn't implement something like this. As you can see, it's already possible within the newest snapshots. So this is my message to Mojang. They won't listen, but hey, you know what? It's worth a shot. Please consider some of the things I have said here, or even change them up a bit. Vaults are fantastic. They are certainly a step in the right direction and are maybe one of the best additions to the game in a long time. Trial spawners are excellent too and have given me many opportunities to flex my creative juices. That being said, I'd love to hear your guys' ideas in the comments below. Does this fix some of the problems with external progression that Mojang has laid out? Does it address what is, in my opinion, the biggest issue with survival multiplayer servers? I think it does, but I'd love to hear your ideas on how to fix this issue as well. Maybe some additions to mine or some critiques or flaws to my ideas. Regardless, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had a ton of fun writing it and even more fun making all the loot tables and sets for all the footage. It's been a blast. The Mario video is still coming, but I've had this idea about vaults in the back of my head for weeks now, and I don't think I've seen anyone else talk about the potential they have. I encourage you to mess around with the MBT data of items like trial spawners and vaults. But Mojang did just change up how MBT data works in the latest snapshots, so that's cool. It's not, it's a pain. But I think learning how to create custom challenges and fun mobs is something that once you learn how to do it is super interesting. Going back to plain old basic mobs will just never be the same. There is so much room for creativity here. Mojang has really created something special that we all can utilize. My only hope is that they utilize it too. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I'll see you guys all in the next one. Consider subscribing and hitting the like button and maybe becoming a member if you want to support me financially. Anyway, that's all. Bye-bye.